afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm going to have to yell into this. Is this thing a mic? Is that a mic? No, that's not a mic. Okay, this is the mic. That's your mic. Got it. All right, come on in and grab a seat. We're going to get started here. Oh, nice ambiance. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the rest of the collaborative staff, I'd like to welcome you to the 2013 Refuse to Use kickoff event. To begin with, I'd like to recognize a very important person who is not going to be able to be here today. Mary Ann Morris has been a part of the collaborative for 10 years. Her dedication and influence has made not only a difference within the collaborative with initiatives like Refuse to Use, but in Manchester, mountain communities, and across the state of Vermont. Since the start of Refuse to Use, she has been a key component in putting together the kickoff events, the workshops students will attend throughout the season, and tirelessly doing her best to ensure that students have healthy alternatives in the community. The staff, along with countless volunteers, will do their best to match her spirit and dedication to the many different programs offered by the collaborative. And we look forward to her return at next year's kickoff event. As I look out into the crowd today, I see a number of familiar faces. But for those of you who don't know me and can't read my name tag from where you're sitting, my name is Justin Bendell. I live in Landgrove with my wife, Leanne, and my two amazing children, McKenna, who will be 4 in October, and my son, Jackson, who just turned 2. I work as the Dean of Students at the Long Trail School, and I've been a member of the board at the Collaborative for the past couple of years. I am appreciative of this opportunity to be more directly involved with the Refuse to Use program because I'm a big believer in helping the students in our area make smart, healthy choices when it comes to using substances. And I know that a seasonal pass to Stratton or Riley Rink or the Viking Nordic Center is a big incentive in making those good decisions. When I moved into the area in 2006, I had no idea what the collaborative was. While working those first few years at the Bromley Brook School, I became a little more aware, but it wasn't until I started working at Long Trail that I really got to know and understand all that the collaborative offers to the Manchester and surrounding communities. Once a month I attended the coalition meetings, which is a place where area kids and parents, along with representatives from local businesses, schools, churches, and the Manchester Police Department got together to discuss issues and opportunities in keeping Manchester a safe, healthy place for families. It was there that I learned about OVX and VCAT, smoke-free zones, sticker shock campaigns, and the like. The most well-known initiative, though, and the reason why we are all here today is Refuse to Use. As a board member, an employee of an area school, a resident of the community, and a parent of 2 children, I am both proud and impressed that such a program even exists. It is the perfect blend of education, conversation, dedication, and recreation. Let's break down a few of those words for a moment. On the educational front, you'll be required to attend workshops that have been put together by the collaborative to teach you about the dangers of using substances. This will include videos, handouts, small group work, and even role-playing. Sometime in January, there will also be a mandatory dialogue night for parents and students. This leads into the next word, conversation. It is our hope that as a result of the monthly workshops and dialogue night, that you as a family are discussing the topics presented. So parents, when your child has a Refuse to Use event after school, spend some time talking to him or her about it. Find out what they learned, or even role play some scenarios with them. We don't want these events to exist in a vacuum, and it's important for you to show an interest in them. We know it can be difficult to talk about drugs and alcohol on both sides of the equation, parent and child. In fact, that's one of the common themes that we hear about during dialogue night. So use these events as an impetus and an excuse to have a conversation. And go ahead and schedule them into your dinner plans for that night. Now, I know some of you may be thinking that dinner at your house is pretty hectic. I know it is at mine. And maybe you don't all eat together. And in that case, have a talk somewhere else. The point is, talk to your kid. They aren't likely to strike up the conversation themselves, so take it upon yourself to initiate it. Next is dedication. You'll be taking a pledge in a little while where you will promise to stay drug, alcohol, and tobacco-free for the duration of the program. Parents, your pledge consists of supporting your child in that endeavor. As the kids here who attend Long Trail can attest, I believe very strongly in the importance of commitment and the value in upholding your word when you have given it. Similar to the idea that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, the strength of your character is displayed by the value of your word. If you tell someone that you're going to do something, whatever it is, it's important that you uphold your end of the bargain. Sometimes you break your word due to circumstances beyond your control. In other words, your intentions are good, but something in the execution breaks down due to outside forces. In this program, thankfully, that can't happen. Staying drug, alcohol, and tobacco-free is simply a matter of saying no thanks if you're presented with the opportunity. If you have difficulty with doing that, then it means making good decisions ahead of time, when you aren't in the moment. Don't put yourself in that position in the first place. Last on this list is recreation. It's probably first on your list, and that's fine. Most of us are wired to use something as motivation to propel us forward, but some use the reward system to help them achieve their goal. In the first scenario, you'd look at the free pass as the motivating factor to stay substance-free. In the second, you'd stay substance-free throughout the program, and the pass would be the reward for making those good decisions. Whichever way you see it, it makes no difference. The bottom line is that you get to ski or skate for free for the entire season, and that's pretty cool. So enjoy the pass, whichever one you get, and use it. Get to the mountain or the rink or the Nordic Center often and have fun. And if from time to time while you're on the outside getting fresh air, getting some exercise, you think about how you got the pass in the first place, then that'd be pretty cool too. Now, a quick word about the pledge, and I'll pass the podium along. As I mentioned earlier, there will be two pledges, one for parents and one for kids. To the parents in attendance today, I have added a challenge for you if you are up to the task. During the duration of the Refuse to Use program, think about something that you might give up at the same time. Maybe it's coffee, maybe it's chocolate, I don't know. The point is, showing support for your child's participation in this way would be great, and perhaps making the pledge easier for them to uphold, knowing that you guys are in it together. We all know the importance of adults role modeling the kind of behavior we want to see in our youth. You could check in with each other at the end of each day, or maybe just a couple of times a week, eventually making the drug and alcohol conversation an easier one to have. For the students who are here taking the pledge, I have a challenge for you as well. The second line you recite talks about supporting your friends with their choice to refuse to use. Do that. Help one another out. If you're at a party and someone offers your friend a drink, you be the one to step in and say no thanks for them. We are all learning more and more these days about the importance of empowering bystanders when it comes to putting an end to bullying, and the same can be true at a party where there are substances being used. It may be difficult for your friend to say no in that moment, but not as difficult for you to step in and say it for them. One of the main goals of this program is to educate students and parents and the community about the dangers involved with using substances, particularly at a young age. Study after study shows that the earlier you begin using drugs or alcohol, the likelier you are to develop a dependency on them as you get older. And a dependency will, without a doubt, make things far more difficult for you. And let's face it, life can be hard enough as it is without handicapping yourselves even further. So use the pledge as an excuse, if you need to. We've created and handed you a completely valid, reasonable response to someone trying to hand you a beer or a bong. All you need to say is, no thanks, I'm all set. I can't afford to lose my pass. That's it. No more, no less. A good friend isn't going to push you anymore after that. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chrissy Blaylock, who will introduce the Clip It video winner for this year. And while I play a lot of golf, I had to get something about golf in here, those that know me. While I play a lot of golf, and I'm looking forward to some more sun and warm weather, here's to a season of blue skies and deep powder. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Can you guys hear me back there? No? How about now? Great. Thanks. It's great to see everybody here today. One other person that I would like to give a shout out is one of our annual speakers, who is our founder for Refuse to Use, Michael Cobb. He unfortunately will be missed today as he is unable to speak for us today. He could tell you in detail how this program came to life and why it still exists today, better than anyone in this space. The Collaborative thanks Michael Cobb for his support throughout the years and for Stratton's partnership from day one. This program has grown to 7 participating schools with over 400 students participating. Michael's vision continues today, and without him, there would not be a Refuse to Use program. As Marianne and Michael battle their illnesses, the Collaborative looks forward to their return for next year's Refuse to Use kickoff. Earlier this spring, the Collaborative put together a clip-it contest, and the students were asked to make a short video describing one of these components. Why being substance-free is important, what their future looks like because of a healthy lifestyle, or what is gained from participating in the Refuse to Use program. The winning video will receive a $500 savings bond.
Hi.
If Casey and Regina could come up and receive your check. Great job. Our keynote speaker today is Lieutenant John Flanagan. He has been a member of the Vermont State Police since 1991. He currently serves as a station commander in St. Albans. He previously served for over 5 years as the agency's traffic commander and still oversees various impaired driving initiatives. Lieutenant Flanagan serves as the field coordinator for the Vermont Drug Evaluation and Classification Program. He is a certified, standardized field sobriety test instructor and drug recognition expert. Lieutenant Flanagan is a recipient of a Vermont State Police Division Commander's Award in recognition of outstanding leadership in the traffic reinforcement, as well as Vermont Governor's Highway Safety. Sergeant Michael Johnson Highway Hero Award. Lieutenant Flanagan has also served as a field force trooper, patrol commander, and public information officer with VSP. He also served as an intern chief for the Governor's Highway Safety Program and is formerly a member of the Vermont Drug and Alcohol Advisory Council. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. I want to thank Chrissy and Justin and the Collaborative for having me here today. It truly is an honor. And I want to thank all of you for being here on a Sunday afternoon, because I know that many of you have very busy schedules in your lives, especially on your weekends. And it also is, I know, week 3 in NFL. There's probably some good games on at home. So applause to you for being here today. I'm going to probably just cover some areas around the minimum legal drinking age and that act and what that has done for us, as well as some laws today too. But can everybody hear me okay? Because I don't really like standing behind this podium. You can't hear me back there, so I think I'll just grab this. And I want to cover some laws around our state law as it applies to alcohol specifically. And I'm going to cover some things about the Minimum Legal Drinking Act today. I do want to say, though, that we can't police ourselves out of substance abuse. This isn't just a law enforcement issue, even though I'm here today representing law enforcement. It's not just a health issue. Health isn't going to get us out of this. Same to go with education. This isn't just an educational issue. We can't just say that this is someone else's problem. This is a community problem that we face, and it does take that village. And it starts here with the village of Manchester to be engaged and be involved. And to have that conversation with your children here, open up those lines of communication with each other. That's really where it starts. A lot of this starts at home. Just remember that. So a little history of the Minimum Legal Drinking Act and why we have that. And many of you here, especially parents, probably maybe remember, we went we had an age 21 limit here in Vermont. Went to 18. We were one of the last states, I believe it was 86, when it went back to 21 after legislation was passed in 1985. And we're going to see some data that I'm going to show you to where we've come since then. And you may have a little bit of trouble seeing this in the back as well, so I apologize. So in 1984, we passed the National Minimum Drinking Age Act through Congress. And there was a unsuccessful repeal of that legislation, and it went through the Supreme Court, and we still have it in effect today. So all states have adopted that. I think Vermont was one of the last states to adopt that when I believe it started in '86 when it took effect to our current law of 21. And in 1995, we passed a lot of national zero tolerance laws. So for those under 21, especially with drinking and driving, 0.02 level. So just a quote up here that the MLDA has been one of the most successful public health regulations ever implemented. And we'll talk about a little bit more about data here. Let's talk about some important alcohol facts, though. Probably no surprise to most of you that motor vehicle crashes amongst our youth and our teens, homicides, suicides, are the leading cause of death, specifically motor vehicle crashes. And most of those are alcohol or other substance related. Back in 1998, Vermont was one of the highest percentage of alcohol fatalities in the nation amongst teens. And we really felt that we needed to change our social norms here in the state. And one of the things that we started was the START program. Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. Stop Teen Alcohol Risk Team. And that had made a major effect. And I think within a 3-year period, between 98 and 2001, we went from one of the highest rates in the country to one of the lowest. So we found out that through enforcement, both proactive and reactive enforcement, as well as doing some education with schools, with programs like the Collaborative in our communities, that we were able to make and have some impact on that. So those things do work. Justin talked about long-term health problems as far as addiction, especially starting at an early age, alcohol and other drugs. Most of those are alcohol related. Remember, we talk a lot about, you see in the media, that both licit and illicit drugs, that we've seen a substantial increase in abuse, especially with pharmaceuticals. But let's not forget that alcohol is a drug, as a central nervous system depressant, how it's classified. Putting all those drugs together, we still have more issues with alcohol than any of those drugs combined. That leads to more problems in our communities, more health issues, more injuries, and more deaths. So just to keep that in perspective. And lastly, the effect on the adolescent brain, as far as the development of the brain. Dr. Wilkie Wilson out of Duke University several years ago, a brain scientist, if you will, took this up and found out that specifically alcohol on the adolescent brain will stunt its growth. Basically, and the brain isn't fully developed until about the ages of between 24 and 26 for the average person. And that putting alcohol in that would slow that process. In some cases, depending upon how much that person had an addiction to alcohol and other substances, that the brain wouldn't fully develop. I don't know if you can see these pictures back here. This isn't meant to be funny, this is serious. Remember how alcohol works, and without getting into the physiology, we commonly consume alcohol orally. Goes into our stomach through our pylorus, into our intestine, and into our bloodstream. How it affects us. It lowers our inhibitions, remember. It pairs our judgment. It makes us make bad decisions. It makes us say, in some cases, and do stupid things. And lastly, the least of your worries is that if someone has a picture of you like these up here, that this, with today's social media, that these things kind of stay around forever. So when you go for a job or you go for something else to better yourself, these things will linger. So the biggest thing is about choices and the choices that we make as far as being responsible as teens and responsible adults. We want to make good choices because they can have a huge impact and effect on our lives, of what we do tomorrow. It affects on our families, it affects on our friends and our community. So, and just remember where you're getting your information from. Because good information will make good choices. Bad information, bad choices. And we need to still continue to work on as far as access. And the reason behind why we have a 21 drinking law is that we call it what the trickle-down effect is, as far as our youth at a younger age getting access to alcohol, and where we're getting access to those substances. I'm kind of sick and tired of myself personally and others of making notifications to parents and loved ones that their loved one has been involved in a crash or some other sort of accident that was involving alcohol and other substances. Will alter their lives, change their lives forever. Knocking on that door at late at night or early in the morning. I've done that one too many times. And these are preventable. This shouldn't happen. It doesn't have to happen, and we have to change that. Probably can't see this too well, but this is some YRBS data as well, Vermont and nationally. About we still have most of our teens in all those grades in high school that have rode with someone who has been drinking. And we'll tie this in shortly. Talk about marijuana too, because alcohol, certainly we have more issues with alcohol than marijuana. Unfortunately, when it comes to impaired driving, we're starting to see more of this. And with some recent legislation, marijuana possession is still legal. It has been decriminalized right now, but it is still illegal. So if you're hearing information that has changed, it hasn't. So this, I hope that we don't see this creep up, but we're still seeing significant numbers, percentage-wise, of students that have ridden with someone who's been smoking marijuana as well. And if someone tells you that that's safer than it is for alcohol, it's not. It's a drug, it impairs you, impairs your ability to operate a vehicle safely. It's a dangerous combination. This breaks down just about where we get it, specifically for alcohol, where our teens are getting it from. You know, traditionally we think it's at home, but it's, you know, it can be a whole host of things. This is broken down by male and female, but through friends, pay for it, stolen from stores in some cases. But in most cases, someone's getting it for them or they're getting it from home. Just basically breaking up what difference between male and female, what they're drinking, and percentage-wise, you know, liquor probably may be easier to get at home for many persons out there, as well as beer, wine, and there's other drinks out there. Now this is important. I don't know how many parents have seen some of the drinks that our alcohol industry has marketed to our youth. These drinks look like they're soda or energy drinks. If you didn't know these or sell these, you would think it was as well, because they look like just some kind of soda pop or energy drink. And many of these, well, these do contain alcohol. And they contain alcohol, a high percentage of alcohol, as well as other added ingredients like caffeine. So if you look real close, you might tell the difference that actually there's alcohol contained in these containers. But it looks like other drinks that are on the market out there. And even some clerks in stores sometimes are confused. So just be aware. Let's talk about national highway deaths. I'll talk a little bit specifically to Vermont. But we kill a lot of people on our highways every year. Back in the 70s and 80s, the percentage of those deaths that were alcohol related were between 50 and 60%. We've changed social norms since then, but we have a lot of work to do. Right now, we're running about 30 to 33% of all our deaths nationally, as well as in Vermont. We're very close to the national trend. But we've just really, in the last decade, have really hit a plateau, and we can't seem to move those numbers. We've got to do better. But somehow we find this as, these things are just going to happen. You know, accidents happen. I say nonsense. These are preventable. Every one is preventable. And it's about choices. And you can see this back here in Vermont during the 70s and 80s. Our highway deaths ran between 150 and 200, and close to 60% of those were alcohol related. We've cut that number in half. But again, we're running about 70 to 90 deaths per year. I think our average right now is about 80. Those are 80 lives we're talking about, human beings that should be here today because of their preventable crashes. Quickly on the law. For driving under 21, we have a civil penalty, which is our zero tolerance law of .02. So if you're driving and you're under 21, your blood or breath alcohol content is above a .02, there is a civil penalty and is a license suspension for 6 months. You can also be charged with driving under the influence, a criminal violation, if you're above a .08. That's only one part. It's our per se law of .08. You can be charged under an 08 for driving under the influence, and that's to the slightest degree. So based upon that, you can be charged even if you're under a .08. Consumption or possession of a minor. Right now, commonly, there's a diversion program that a teen would go through. if they're found violating this section. And a number of things that they have to do, and if they don't complete it, there's a license suspension as well attached to that. And there's an expense, and it's their expense, not their parents' expense. They shouldn't be paying for it. So the whole process is to make sure that they get the information that they need to change their conduct and not to violate again. And typically, we don't see that too many repeats after they've gone through their initial diversion program. So many youth do learn after the first offense. Sale, furnish, enabling. We do have laws that are very serious, which can be brought to someone who purchased for a minor, as well as an adult also that may host an event and serve alcohol to a minor. And if it leads to a crash that's involved, where it causes personal injury or death to another, that is a felony that they would be charged with up to a $10,000 fine and 5 years imprisonment. How am I doing on time? I can't tell you enough that how important it is, again, for parents and kids to be discussing these issues and not just ignoring them. What they communicate to you and you modeling behavior for them. There, many cases, our students are going to model the behavior of their parents. And it's up to you and it's up to them to be leaders and lead by example. It makes all the difference. And this is where it has to happen. We've got to do better. We're working on it. Human behavior is difficult business, but if it's slow change, we're going to get there. And again, it takes all of us to do it. We can't do it alone. Thank you for your time today. I'd be happy to take any questions, if anyone has any. Yes?
Actually, if you could maybe give an equivalent to 1.02, 1.08 people. I mean, some people can have it.
Well, you know, it mostly has to do with time, it has to do with weight.
Can you repeat the question so everybody can hear it?
The question was, can you equate a BAC level, like a 0.02 or 0.04, you know, what that means for a number of drinks for an individual? And I guess the best question is it depends. It depends a little bit, male and female, because of water that's stored in the body between the genders, very little. It also depends upon, you know, what a standard drink is, how much alcohol is in that drink, the time that they've spent, how much they've had to drink, and what their body weight is. So, you know, for an example, for a typical person that may be 170 pounds, you know, 2 beers, which is typically between 5 and 6%, you know, that within a 1 hour period, if they had 2 drinks, that may put them somewhere about a 0.04 or 0.05. And, you know, we have this thing, and I think basically our society thinks about, you know, impaired driving is drunk driving, but that decision-making, impairment of our decisions, and risk-taking happens at much lower levels. So there's been a national movement to try to move that BAC level, legal limit, to 0.05. There's a lot of research behind that, so it'll be interesting to see where things go over the next few years with that. Yes?
I heard something about tolerance levels. Is there a way to build your tolerance up so that you do not feel or are not as drunk, depending on how accustomed you are to drinking?
Okay, the question was, is there a tolerance level as far as how you're accustomed to drinking and how that plays out, basically? Yes. people can build tolerances to alcohol and other drugs. But it doesn't change their BAC level. That will not change. But a person may feel, because based on their tolerance, feel better or even talk better and perform things better than they would be because of that tolerance that they've built up. But it still means that they're impaired. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you know much about the drinks that look like energy drinks but have alcohol? Because I was at a meeting the other day for serving, and they said that some of the drinks are not even labeled that they have alcohol in them when in fact they do. And so I don't know if you have a suggestion for how parents can read those labels.
The question was the energy drinks with alcohol, whether we're hearing that some of them don't have labels that there's alcohol in it, and how parents can tell the difference. As far as I know, they all have some sort of label on them that says that there's alcohol contained in that container. Otherwise, they're illegal to sell. However, depending upon the manufacturer, they may have that label or that percentage of alcohol not as largely printed on there as some others would. So some of them, it may in fact be very difficult to see that unless you looked at it really close. Any other questions I can answer? Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right. So before we do the pledge, I would like to give a round of applause for Lieutenant Flanagan one more time. I would also like to thank our volunteers, our Refuse to Use school representatives. They are your go-to individuals when it comes to what workshops are going to be and when they're going to happen. And so that information can be found on our website, along with being able to register online as well, thecollaborative.us. You have until about October 15th. Any later than November 1, expect a delay in receiving your pass, as well as a late fee to accommodate the administration processes. So, right now, I would like you all to take some time and find your caring adults/parents. Everybody near their caring adults, students? So if everybody could stand and face their adult or their child or children or adults. Once nobody's talking, we'll continue. Parents, I would would like you to start first as a good example on how we're going to say this in unison. Ready? I will support my student in their choice to be and remain substance-free. I will notify my school representative or the collaborative if my student is unable to honor their pledge and uses alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs and therefore violates their pledge. I know that this will mean termination of my student's pass and that we will be provided resources. Okay, we're on the next one. I will provide my students transportation to the scheduled substance abuse prevention education events. I will support my student by attending the kickoff event and the dialogue night in January. In the event of a family scheduling conflict, I will notify the refuse to use representative at my student's school and attempt to make the alternative arrangements. Right. Okay, students, as soon as it's quiet, thank you. Okay, students, ready? I will refuse to use alcohol, tobacco, and any other drugs. I will not misuse any over-the-counter and prescription drugs. I will support my friends in their choice to refuse to use alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. I will behave respectfully and responsibly at refuse to use events while using my pass. I will not make any claims of illegal substance use in any printed material, speech, public, or internet site. I will attend at least 5 events of the scheduled substance use prevention education programs sponsored by my school or the collaborative. By joining the Refuse to Use program, I understand that I voluntarily give my word that will honor this pledge, and I will follow the guidelines. If I cannot uphold this pledge, then my pass will be terminated. Okay. If everybody could be seated once you're finished. Give ourselves a round of applause. I just realized that I don't think I introduced myself in the beginning of the program. My name is Chrissy Blaylock. I'm the program's coordinator and the Refuse to Use coordinator for the program and for the collaborative. And I want to thank all of you for coming today and to be supportive of the program and supporting yourselves to make healthy choices. If you have questions, the reps will be sticking around for a little while afterwards, as well as myself and collaborative staff. Again, thank you for coming out today, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.